Once a destination for family fun, Britain's seaside towns used to be places to celebrate childhood. Now children from London come here for very different reasons. Swept up in an undercurrent of crime, vulnerable young people are being targeted by gangs and trafficked to areas around the country to sell Class A drugs. On the streets, this is known as running county lines. It's a business one of the dealers we spoke to knows well. For years, he recruited children, or workers as he calls them, from London and took them to the countryside. It's a dangerous and illegal world, and we've protected the identities of the people we spoke to.
The workers, they range from white, black, fat, skinny, young, old, whoever wants to work. They're just out there. They're on their estate. They're trying to get their attention by doing little things. They want to be known. They want to be with the big guys. You kind of notice them as well. And then you're just like, when you think, yeah, you just approach, say, what? You want to go country? He goes, yeah. Okay, cool. Then you start. Probably went through like 10 workers at least. Some of them mess up. Some of them get arrested. Some just can't handle the pressure. You got to sack them. So some just go through them like water.
And what happens if they mess up?
You might just think, yeah, I'm going to pocket after money. Starts messing up. Obviously, there's punishment in it.
And he can get killed for that?
Can do. He's messing with someone's business, innit? So it's not a game, as they say, innit?
Can you describe the demographic of the young people that you would recruit to work in the countryside?
I would say from a broken home. I would say from poverty and lacking something. He needs that male figure in his life, I think. He wants to be a part of something.
We've heard of children as young as 12 being pressured or coerced into selling drugs this way. Chris was 16 when he was trafficked all over southern England.
I sold Class A, crack, heroin, in the city as well. We ganced out there, even a crackhead's house or B&B. I didn't like it. Crackheads can be quite violent sometimes. You know, you've got money and they want to rob you for it. I've got friends who've been cut on their faces. I've got friends who've been hit with needles. You know, so yeah, they can be quite violent when they want to come. So there's the potential of that or being apprehended and charged with the intent to supply, which can face a lot of years in prison for that, you know.
Chris told me even young people who are seemingly willing have little real choice.
Maybe they haven't got the same footing in their estate and they're kind of being exploited because they don't really have a choice. If they want things to run smoother for them in their community, then it's better they go and do this because it might give them some immunity.
In a recent series of dawn raids across England, the police intercepted a criminal network suspected of trafficking young boys and girls from southeast London to Hampshire and Kent. There's growing concern at the vulnerability of young people trafficked this way.
We had a group of really young children who were sleeping on beaches, and they were being sent to the countryside together. And they had essentially been failed by the local. They were known to the local authority. They had suffered extreme trauma in their homes, and the local authority were in care homes, and they were absconding. And it's very similar to the kinds of kids that we're seeing in the Rochdale and Oxford cases, where they're in these care homes, and actually the provisions aren't looking after them. They're not safeguarding them, and so you get the girls that are being sexually exploited.
The Home Secretary says she acknowledges the problem.
I think what has surprised people is that this is also a business that is undertaken by organised criminals in the UK itself. So will be people, adults and younger people, being moved from different parts of the UK, elsewhere within the country, into exploitation, into effectively modern slavery.
With deep deprivation and long-term economic decline, Clacton is just the kind of place traffickers are targeting. Demand for drugs is high and competition is scarce. For local users trying to break the habit, outsiders have changed the face of the drug scene.
You're trying so hard, but yeah, it's put in front of your face and no one's doing nothing about it, you know. Especially if you want to get clean. It's like they're in the middle of town, so you can't even go and do your shopping without seeing something. Police are blind to people dealing drugs, but are so quick to pull you over and give you a search. Like, you're just walking down the road. You know what I mean? They are London people. People coming down from London.
What kind of age?
15-year-olds onwards. I've seen 16-year-olds doing deals, like a pair of 16-year-old boys who couldn't even buy themselves some filters, so... They're more aggressive in the way that they talk. They treat you like absolute talk down to you as well, so... The whole aggression with everything and weapons. Yeah, they're always carrying knives on them, guns.
Drug addiction is already embedded in small towns like Clacton, but the influx of city dealers is inflaming the problem.
We see the effects of what the new dealers are because we see new people coming into treatment. This year we've seen an increase in 10% in people coming through our system.
For what kind of drugs?
Heroin particularly. I looked at the stats yesterday that we've got a 10% increase in heroin for opiate use. Cocaine use is fairly steady. Cannabis use, particularly in young people as well, is on the increase. Legal highs, they're increasing, but not particularly in this area.
But staying a step ahead is a challenge for the police. The gangs involved in trafficking bring sophisticated tactics for avoiding detection and heightened levels of violence.
There has been some indications that perhaps people from outside the tendering area perhaps find it easier or more used to use higher levels of force to conduct their criminal activities. And also perhaps there's been some more sophisticated concealment of drugs. I know recently we've found some packages of Class A drugs hidden very well behind the dashboards of cars, for example. And that's not the levels of sophistication that we've seen here locally before.
There's overlapping criminality in places like this, with powerful gangs and drug addicts, all part of an almost impenetrable underworld. But increasingly it's clear that some of the most vulnerable children are deeply involved too, without any real choice. Afua Hirsch, Sky News.